thumbnail.
Oh, so my daughter.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, not bad. My daughter, I told her that I was being reviewed at my job today. And she's like, well, what if I give you the flag? You all noticed it right away. She got BTV on my
Oh my God, that's
now.
amazing.
And
God.
a bit of landscape. But
That's talent.
She is talented.
Good eye.
Yeah. So.
Hi, Daniel.
Hello everyone, thanks for accommodating my virtual participation today.
Super duper. Now.
Okay.
How are we doing, Travis and Rob?
We're looking good. All set. Okay.
Okay.
We'll start.
Oh my God, stuff is loading.
We'll call the April 15th, 2026 Public Works Commission meeting to order. First item is the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. Moving on to public forum. Rob, is there anyone online for public comment?
Sharon Busher, you're up in queue.
Go ahead, Sharon.
Hi, good evening. On Monday night, DPW, Chapin, and others gave a report about this past winter's experience with plowing and salt, etc. And it made me realize that I was remiss in not bringing something to your attention, but I don't think it's too late. This is for next year. What happened I live on East Avenue, and so I'm really familiar with East Avenue and Colchester Avenue as you head down towards Winooski. And what I can tell you is that unlike other people, I am asking that perhaps the city could consider requiring cars to get off the street on certain streets that are heavily trafficked when there's snow. What happened last year, this past winter, is that the snow, the middle of the street was plowed, but because we have parking on our street and I don't want it to go away, that would solve all the problems, but not really. But anyways, the middle of the street was plowed, but the area where cars parked wasn't. And it built up, and because it was a cold winter, somewhat atypical from our recent experience, it became compacted and was raised. It was almost like 4 or 5 inches high. And it never really melted. And it became really problematic and hazardous for parked cars, for bicycles, for anybody. And so I'm wondering if indeed there would be a way for the city, and I can only speak about the 2 roads that I referenced, I can't speak about the entire city, that where it's heavily traveled and you do have parking on the street, if you could initiate area-specific removal of cars so that you can plow to the curb, I think it would make the whole street safer. And I just want to say that, years ago, I was on the Public Works Commission when we got the idea for the snow lights from Montreal, and we did it as a pilot in the Old North End. And the intent was, because in Montreal, it was basically you could look out your window and you could see whether there was a snow ban or not. And the intent was to get snow lights throughout the city, but it was, I don't know, maybe 5 years when we finally acted on saying, yes, we wanted to expand it. It was a long time. There was a big hiatus, and we couldn't afford it. And so we took what we had and spread them around, and we did augment. Chapin can speak to how many new snow lights you've added. I can't. But anyways, the idea was that you could initiate street-specific car removal for certain circumstances. And so what I'm really asking is that the department think about what I'm asking is that there are certain streets that are heavily traveled where I think it warrants consideration for this more aggressive plowing. I know it's an inconvenience for everybody, but I think it really gets down to safety for all modes of transportation. And if we have another winter like the past one where we don't have the freeze and warm cycle where things melt completely, I think that would be well served by considering this. So thank you so much. I realize this is late in the game, but I think it's worthy of consideration, and that's why I'm taking your time this evening. So thanks.
Thank you, Sharon.
And that's all we've got in queue.
Just lost myself in the notes. With that, we'll close public forum. And let's see, motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
I do just have one question there. It seems like in the agenda packet, under this consent agenda item, approval of draft minutes, the only document that I see there is the sign-in sheet for public forum from our March meeting. Am I perhaps missing an attachment in there? Like, are there in fact minutes for us to approve, or do we have basically an empty consent agenda?
I'm looking online right now, and it does appear that we only included the sign-in sheet, so we must have had a bad scan, and my apologies, and we'd be happy to include those next month.
I think I saw them from, because they get attached to last month's, like, meeting.
We do have what we do across the city is we'll put the current draft minutes attached to the last agenda, but then
Yeah.
we'd
Okay.
also include that in your current packet. So if you didn't have that in your packet, I'd be happy to make sure that's in next month.
Okay, then we can, so we should just approve it next.
Yeah,
Great.
I think so.
We'll scratch that motion and second and move on.
Thanks, Dan.
Good catch, Commissioner Montano.
Moving on to Elmwood and Intervale Ave traffic calming.
Thank you.
Parsa, is this you?
Yes,
Excellent.
I'm joining now, sharing my screen. Thank you for having me. I'll try to keep it short, just to give you an update on what stage this project is at, and few changes that we've had since last time. How could I share my screen? I forgot. Is it here?
Share the green.
Oh.
Right there. Yep.
Okay.
Takes village.
Thank you, Chapin. All right. Elmwood Intervale, I believe it's not showing up over there. Is it? Okay. I'm gonna quickly do this. Okay. So Elmwood Intervale, as you're aware, I'm just gonna give you a quick reminder that it's between North Street and Archibald section of the Elmwood and Intervale, so it's not the whole section. We are trying to do traffic calming here. The outreach we've done so far for this project, we've been into NPA meetings. We've had 3 rounds of flyers to the neighborhood for updating the project, and I have done so many outreach through email and phone calls that I've received from residents, and we've been in coordination with businesses, especially the businesses on the south side of Intervale, since we're doing a green belt over there, and some coordination with GMT for the bus stop that we have on Elmwood. So to start with, I'm going to show you what the design was for Elmwood. So we had parking chicanes, and for the parking chicanes, we were losing no parking for the parking chicane itself. The net change is 0. We are losing 1 parking on the south side of Elmwood, but we're gaining 1 parking on the north. So that is no change. But for the crosswalk, we were losing 2 parking, just because we have to have some distance, 20 feet from the crosswalk, either side. The only difference, so this is what we've had before, the only difference is we've moved the parking area here slightly north to like accommodate that 20 feet that I mentioned. And also we are planning to move these planters to be adjacent, to be parallel to the roadway, and prevent cars to like park further from roadway. Just the whole idea is to narrow the road for people to slow down, and if we, yeah, that's for that. So that's the only update we have on Elmwood. For Intervale Avenue, we had 3 speed tables, 1 crosswalk at Spring Street and Intervale. The change here is that we have added a crosswalk in front of the businesses. We did some site visit and pedestrian count, and we have quite a few people crossing on that area. It's kind of an unsafe area, so we are planning to add that crosswalk to formalize that crossing, and also slight change on Spring Street to do a little bit more curb work to have the ADA ramp on the south side of the Spring Street. Everything else is the same for Intervale Ave. As for the time frame, I have an update. So we are planning to do the Elmwood parking chicanes this year, but given the lots of work that our right-of-way team has, there is a chance that construction for concrete work will be for next year. If there's a chance we can do it this year, but if not, it's definitely going to happen next year. There is a lot in our right-of-way list that may push this to next year. But the parking chicanes are definitely happening, paints are happening, and yep, I'll keep you updated as we go forward. That's one update for the time frame. And next steps is to, as soon as we get the ordinance changes approved, I'll be coordinating with traffic team so that they do the painting for parking chicane, and we'll put the signs up. And that would be Elmwood. Yeah, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Great. Looking for commissioner questions on this particular item, if you don't mind.
Sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can see Commissioner Montano.
And I think Commissioner Davis is also online.
Mm-hmm.
So, anybody have any questions?
I do.
Commissioner Montano, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I suppose I could go first. I guess my question is about the outreach. It seems like from the packet insert, there was only 5 examples of public feedback that were given in writing. Was there anything additional you had gotten from, say, business owners, or any engagement on things like Front Porch Forum about these changes in particular? And yeah, I guess that's my first question.
Yeah, that's a good point. The communication I included there was for Elmwood, because this was only like an Elmwood item. But for Intervale, there are some more communication. I've had in-person talks with businesses. I've actually received 2 emails after I sent this package. But there's more for Elmwood that I haven't included, but for Intervale, for Elmwood, all the communication is in the package.
All right, thank you. In short, I'd feel comfortable moving ahead with the ordinance change today. Obviously, in the past couple of years, we've considered several alternatives about how to do traffic calming on this section of Elmwood. And in fact, one was tried with the mobile speed humps. But I really trust that the city engineering process and everything helped identify these chicanes as being a viable solution to actually get the speed down just well enough, and doing it in a way that's actually comfortable for drivers, people traveling, on bicycle and everything. And it feels right to move ahead with the step at this time. So thanks to the work from the city on that part. Yeah, thank you.
Any other commissioner questions, comments?
If I could just build off of what Commissioner Montano just asked, so just looking for like the substance of what you heard from those other, the businesses that you spoke to and stuff like that, because it seemed like the feedback we got in our packets was pretty unanimously supportive of it, so just curious if that's generally what you heard from others as well.
No, the support is very positive.
Mhm.
I would say I only remember one kind of negative feedback, and it was on Intervale,
Mhm.
and that was for speed tables that might be noisy. But I addressed that these tables that we're installing are a little different than it's low profile, and it's not as noisy as more abrupt ones. And that's the only one I recall. Most of even those emails that I received after this package were supportive of the traffic calming.
Thank you for that.
I just had a couple of things. One is also just appreciative of this. I live in this neighborhood, so I'm really excited, and I travel these roads to get my breakfast on the weekend, so this will be great. And for Intervale Ave, would you say the speed tables would be similar to the ones that were recently installed on Archibald?
Archibald.
Okay, so very
It's
static,
the
the most
same,
comparable.
yes.
Okay. And then they're not scheduled for this year just because of cost or staff capacity, or what's the?
Well, speed tables are not scheduled because
Oh, the
we would
paving.
like to,
Yes, it
to
was
combine
very
with the
paving,
paving.
okay.
But the crosswalk or the curb work it is in the list of our work, but maybe for the next year.
Okay, great. Any other items on this before we take action? This is an action item tonight. Looking for a motion?
Is there any public?
Oh, sorry, yes, public comment, thank you. Is anyone online, Rob?
No one has signed up.
Great.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Sure, I can second.
Great, thank you, Commissioner Davis. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye for myself.
Aye.
Great, ayes have it.
I do have one question though before we close this item out.
Go ahead.
Underneath the amended language, which actually relocates the parking areas in Elmwood, it says the final language of the amended ordinance is subject to final review and approval of the city attorney's office. This is an, Appendix G change, right? So this is just the same as if we were making any other change to parking, right? We're not actually, sending anything to city council to approve this change, right? Really, our part is just at the level of the parking ordinance in this area, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Essentially, when we say that, it's the city attorney's opportunity to make sure that all the legal language, nothing substantive or any of the engineering changes or things that you're approving, it's more or less their last opportunity to be like, okay, this .23 legal thing is correct.
Phrasing.
Exactly.
All right, well, in short, the actual change has my enthusiastic support, so thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Moving on to the next item, thank you, Parson Phillip.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Is DPW Director.
All right. Moving right along. Thank you, Parsa and Philip.
Do you need this back now that I have
No.
it? Okay.
All right, I've got extras too if anybody needs hard copies. All right, thanks for the opportunity to present on mid-year progress report for the Public Works Director for the City of Burlington. 13 years in, I am still tremendously enthusiastic about this work. At the end of the day, it's the people inside and outside Public Works. Despite the extensive public process on many of our fronts and the vigorous policy debates that we have in the city, Burlington is a city at a human scale, and we all here at the department and the commission really are able to make demonstrated improvements into the lives of everyday residents. And I strongly believe that DPW continues to lead the way in the state on really important policy and infrastructure renewal efforts. Together, we've stuck projects from the Champlain Parkway, the roundabout on Shelburne Street, Amtrak to Burlington, Franklin Square acceptance that had been languishing for 40 years, generational wastewater treatment plant upgrades, tackling unaccepted streets, which has been a sore spot for the department for a long time, and implemented challenging but important projects all the way back to the North Ave road diet. And these are projects we've done together and made hard decisions, but moved the needle on many of the city's visions and goals. No one person or department does it alone, and I very much value the collaboration with other departments and partners in the community, and of course the commission. I had the pleasure of just quickly reviewing all of what we've tackled together over this past year, and your support and leadership through helping us with the change in recycling was really helpful and important. You all gave us feedback on the Walk Bike Safety Action Plan to help us apply for grants. You approved the delegated parking ordinance language, which will be back in front of you next month. We have installed our first ADA accessible space through that delegation, and we will report on that next month. You reviewed the 5-year plans for paving and sidewalk and gave us great feedback, and that those documents that put online for your meetings are documents that we refer to when the public asks questions about when is my street getting repaved or how do you prioritize, that these materials have worth far beyond the meetings themselves. We've talked about the traffic calming again just tonight, updated the public engagement plan, updated bicycle ordinances, and together I think just moving the needle on the aging infrastructure in this city together. And what we will leave, I'm confident, is a much more resilient city than one we inherited. So in your packet is a memo from me outlining the goals that the mayor has set for me in fiscal year 26. And I have in the lighter gold color put the areas where we have worked on those goals over the course of the year. And I won't read this, but I think I will highlight a couple key sections if the time allows. In the beginning, Goal 1 talks about strengthening city government through change management, systems development, and employee-centered policies. One of the key pieces that I'm most proud about in terms of structure of DPW is implementing tiering within our staff structure. And that basically allows, within job functions, people to develop their skills and grow in their jobs without having to wait for another position to open up. Prior to implementing tiering, there was absolutely no way within the structure of the city to acknowledge a employee who was developing skills and doing additional valued work beyond them finding a new position. There's one position, you get a bump every year for continuing your job, but there's no merit pay or any other accommodations. This tiering allows that development. We have about 4 positions currently approved for that, representing 25 employees, which is a chunk of our 150 employees, but I am committed to growing that further. Additionally, an inside baseball success story is that we're overhauling our financial management tool for the city. And there was a risk that the city was going to have multiple different financial platforms across departments. And the burn of that would most keenly have been felt on DPW because we're the only department that has enterprise funds, special revenue funds, capital funds, and general funds all in one department. And if some of those funds were in one financial platform and other funds in other financial platforms, it would have been a huge challenge for our team. And I think through our proactive leadership, we now have a one platform solution among all city departments, and that the Board of Finance, I believe last night, just recommended council approval for this platform, and it should get approved later this month. As it relates to working with our union staff, Objective 1D, I am very pleased that we've been very active in union negotiations this round, and while I can't talk about what the proposals are, we have put 6 substantive proposals on the table because we see having an effective collective bargaining agreement that continues to evolve with the needs of the city is important to having the city run efficiently and effectively. We have been exploring behind the scenes potential charter changes, and the charter change that's of most interest to me, the city is only allowed on the general fund to borrow up to $2 million a year without voter approval, and our financial and capital needs are much greater than that. And thanks to your support over time for asking the voters for very large bond requests, if we could raise the annual borrowing threshold to normalize the level of borrowing we need to sustainably maintain our infrastructure, it would allow us to do better long-term planning and to ask voters for approval only for the larger and more atypical investments. Goal 2 talks about building infrastructure, and I think we all are very aware of a number of the large projects. The Parkway and Gray Street's Main Street are both on budget and on time for completion in the next 3 months. Hard to imagine that after many years of development and construction. But beyond just the visible projects, I'm really excited about the behind-the-scenes work to help support development in the South End, including the 200 units that just got permitted right behind me that should be under construction this fall. It's a complicated nut to crack to have old infrastructure be redesigned to handle the 7,000 new housing units the state of Vermont is seeking Burlington to accommodate, as one example. And so we are doing wastewater collection system modeling to understand how to handle larger flows in the South End. And we will be looking at transportation modifications and improvements to handle the additional traffic as well. On the wastewater front as well, you know that we have started our generational work at the wastewater plants with our Stage 0 work at the headworks of our 3 plants, Main, East, and North plants. And then beyond the big projects, there's a whole suite of small projects, and I won't go into those, but it's listed here, the number of bikeway improvements that we completed in FY26 and the integration of traffic calming into our paving programs, such as on Ethan Allen Parkway and Archibald Street. We also tie in our utility work as part of paving so that we're doing the underground utility work before paving. And that could have best be seen Tuesday, is that just yesterday? Yes, on Colchester Avenue, where we were upgrading water services on Colchester Avenue before paving that street later this year. Boy, so much happens between Tuesday and a Wednesday. In addition, on some of the larger streets, we're continuing to find really effective ways to bring in other money to large capital projects. So for reconnecting Bank and Cherry, we received 2 federal grants and TIF funding. That will be overall around a $50 million project with about $1 million of general fund investment. The rest of that being TIF funding and grant funding to that project. And similarly, the Winooski Bridge, thanks to our state and federal partners and the CCRPC, that $70 million project could have fallen exclusively on Burlington and Winooski because it's owned 50-50 by Burlington and Winooski. But because we have strong partnerships with our state and federal parties, that $70 million investment is looking like the local match for the city of Burlington will be $3.7 million. And that project I'm really excited about because it really demonstrates our commitment to multimodal design and very robust bike pedestrian accommodations. Trying to finish up quickly here. It's flipped the wrong way. There we go. I am pleased that I've brought forward an FY27 budget. You've all heard of the financial constraints that the city is struggling with, but I've put together a proposal that improves DPW's net budget over last year without a significant level of service reduction. There'll be more information on this in the coming weeks, but that is very important to me. In addition, as you know, we're tackling now the issue of unaccepted streets. This is an issue that's been generations in the making, and really is because that past generations did not have the record keeping that we do today. And so we do not have record or a complete record of the ownership status of approximately 89 streets. We are running those to ground so that we can clarify with the residents and the city council who's ultimately responsible for maintaining these assets. My goal is, when I am no longer in this position, that all streets in the city of Burlington will have clear ownership, which will help residents and future engineers plan for adequate maintenance and repair of all streets and whose responsibility it is. We together worked on the recycling operation, and we talked about that previously. We have a new soil management facility under development at 201 Flynn, and a number of other exciting coordination efforts. On objective 3, goal 3 is bolstering DPW's operation and maintenance, and a key element of that is running our day-to-day traffic and parking facilities fund responsibly. And while downtown's recovery has been slow out of the pandemic and the changing office market, I'm pleased to report that FY26 financials for these two funds, the traffic fund and the parking facilities fund, are expected to beat our FY26 budgeted net. The revenues are generally on target, our expenses are below target, and we're seeking this year to have a $300,000 net to buy down part of our outstanding long-term debt. We're still struggling with about $2 million of outstanding debt that we would like to pay off as soon as possible. There are a few other items here, but I will end it here and happy to answer your questions.
Great, thank you. There's a lot of stuff, and that wasn't even everything on that list. Commissioners, this is our opportunity, I think, to ask any questions of Director Spencer from either what you reported or in the document. And we will have an executive session later to discuss this further. Any commissioners like to go first?
I mean, I'll just briefly say that there's a lot more here than in the past 12 years that I've been on that to be able to digest, and I appreciate the format, the dialogue that we've had that led to this, and the ability to see it on paper now, to see achievements, to see goals, to see budget issues, to see how you're dealing with things. I think this is very helpful for us.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Davies, Commissioner Montano, any questions, comments?
No questions for me.
Commissioner Montano?
Thanks for giving such a comprehensive overview. It really helps give a understanding of the breadth of work going on in the department, and really where the executive leadership objectives with the department head really lie. So it was actually really helpful both to read and actually have concrete updates on each of these objectives, as well as to hear it all right now. This is incredibly helpful, and I hope this is the kind of thing that we could continue in the future, right? It's really helpful to be sharing this kind of information, and it's especially helpful for us as we're providing feedback as part of our annual review as a Public Works Commission. So thanks to
Great.
the executive leadership of the city for putting this kind of thing into practice.
Commissioner Fox?
I think the one thing that I will add, in addition to what my fellow commissioners have said, is I appreciate how this shows how our public works are connected to all of our other objectives in terms of city resilience, sustainability, housing, public safety, right? Like it's all interconnected, and I think that, I don't know, that's a point that you drive home that I think is really important, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's it.
I think I don't have any questions. I'll just share. I think every year that we come to this, I always go to the DPW website and just look at the mission. And I think the mission, just for folks online, is to steward Burlington's infrastructure and environment by delivering efficient, effective, and equitable public services. And I think all the things outlined, I think really just helps point to that overarching goal for the department. So I think I think the commission really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Great. I think it's the best department. I'm biased.
Well, we are too.
Yeah.
And Chapin, just for process, we would do that motion later after the last two agenda items. Is that correct?
Yes, for moving into executive session and then for adjourning after the executive session. Once we finish our other agenda items, we can make the motion at that time.
Great. Okay. I think with that, we would move to the director's report.
All right, thank you. That is here somewhere.
Different report than the one you just gave.
Yes. I will be quick. On your table is a poster for the upcoming open house for Plan BTV 2050. It's coming up Thursday, April 30th, from 3:30 to 8 p.m. at 1 Main Street. We definitely want to encourage all members of the public to come attend. There's food and drinks and an open forum in which you can come whenever you're available and provide input to the long-term planning of the city's transportation system, as well as the city generally through its planning, parks, and economic development components. So encourage participation in that. We were able to provide an update on unaccepted and private streets to the City Council on Monday night. It was, I thought, a very robust conversation. This is going to be a multi-year effort with you and the City Council, but we will keep you engaged and the public engaged. We will be sending out our letters that were in the packet within the week to residents on these unaccepted and private streets. We're continuing our coordination work with Burlington High School on the Institute Road and North Avenue intersection. Work that we're trying to coordinate is new bus stops, new pedestrian signals, new crosswalks at the intersection so that when kids arrive, they have a well-designed transportation infrastructure that supports them. Let's see, Public Information Manager Rob Goulding, anything to add?
Operation Clean Sweep will start in 1 week, so move your cars, let your neighbors know, and sign up for VT Alert. It's a citywide sweeping campaign. The crews have been out as weather has allowed, especially recently, to be out sweeping, so they do a little bit more targeted work in the early spring, but next week really kicks off the comprehensive campaign. And very soon we expect to have our construction portal uploaded and updated with our 2026 projects. If you go there now, not as updated, still has a lot of past work, tidying some things up on the back end, so people look out for that if you're interested in some of the other work we have going on. And related to that, Chapin and or I will be at most of the NPAs over the next 6 weeks, so if you're attending your neighborhood NPA, we hope to see you there. And that's on the construction season.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just ask, I think once you finalize with the NPAs, if you could just send the commission an email just so for all of us for our respective NPAs, I think we'd love to help come out and support.
We'll
staff
do.
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've got most of them booked, maybe not all, but
Okay.
we'll send you those.
And there are commissioners for each NPA, so if we need to try and slide over to another one,
That's true, yes.
let us know which are vacant.
Yeah.
Maybe I can try and.
Got it.
Great.
Does any commissioners have any questions for the department on anything on the director's report?
I do not.
Looks like nothing online. I'll just add, it's not on the director's report, but because outside of the open house, the day before is an important public meeting for the Winooski Bridge
Mhm.
from 5 to
Yeah.
7 p.m. at Winooski High School, so just want to highlight that event.
Thanks for catching that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to commissioner items. Any commissioner like to go first?
I'll go first again.
Sure.
And just to say that I've seen the crews out there trying to fill as many potholes as they can now that the snow has melted, and I do appreciate that. But I will also say that those potholes cause cars to go a little bit slower. So traffic calming by not design. But I do appreciate
Yeah.
people out there doing as much as they can right now to prepare for the construction season.
Yeah.
That's it.
Commissioner Matanu, Commissioner Davis?
No comments at this time. Thank you, everybody.
I just had a question about the ordinance change in language that we discussed last month and whether that went through, or how that was going as it relates to like the bicycles and Main Street and all that.
There's two ordinance items. One, as it relates to the delegation of authority, the staff had promised to come back with a standard operating procedure for your review and feedback. We are prepared to do that at the May meeting. We have a draft and it's in internal review, and that is progressing nicely. And then as to Main Street, we are planning to come back next month as well with cleanup in ordinance of final changes that need to be made for car share spaces, accessible spaces, and the like. So you should see that in May as well.
Great, thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Yeah.
Vice Chair Fox?
I got something. So I'm gonna put on my work hat, my CCRPC hat for just a second. I want to provide an update to the commission on the 127 path connection study, since that's moving into its sort of final stages. So if any staff in the room would like the preferred alternative, I have it here. I'm sorry for those online that you can't see it. Here it is.
I'll
Can
hold it up while
zoom
you
in on
talk.
it, Traffic? That's awesome. Still hard to see, but it's also.
Wow, that's way better Zoom than I would have thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about the 127 interchange, the North Ave Beaches exit, if you can picture that. So there's a path along the side of the road. Okay, maybe you can zoom out now. This is all online, so if you want to look at it more, but the reason why we're not having staff give a formal presentation on this is because I'm on the project team. Chair Damiani has been representing the commission, and Commissioner O'Neill Vivanco is also on the project advisory committee in her professional role. And this project ultimately will not have any ordinance changes with parking or anything like that that will come before the commission, but in the interest, we're all sort of interested in active transportation, safety, and that sort of thing. So the goal of this project is to identify a new alternative to connect the 127 shared use path, like in the vicinity of the Ethan Allen Homestead, to North Avenue, because currently there aren't very many access points to the 127 bike path. So that's what this study has been doing over like the past year and a half. We're in the final stages of it. We landed on a preferred alternative, which I just showed you with the zoomed in camera. And what that preferred alternative includes, it's reallocating space on that existing bridge of the interchange to include a very wide shared use path, a green belt that will separate that path from traffic. Since the road, that bridge, the width is like 60 feet, it's super wide, there's tons of space there. To basically, yeah, just provide that active transportation connection, because we know folks are walking and biking across there, even though it's super dangerous to access the Homestead and the Intervale and all of that stuff. So the Parks Commission recommended that the City Council approve the plan or adopt the plan with the preferred alternative. This alternative was unanimously approved by the Project Advisory Committee. So there's nothing necessarily that the commission needs to do, but just wanted to provide you all an update on that project since it's sort of interest and it's cool. It's been very non-controversial. Yeah, I don't know if staff wants to say anything about it, but I just wanted to provide the commission an update on that.
Well, I would add that we are planning to take that project to the next Transportation, Energy, and Utilities Committee meeting.
On April 28th.
Correct. So now Commissioner Damiani's given a meeting on April 29th. This is a meeting on April 28th. And if you're still needing meetings after that, there is Plan BTV 2050 on April 30th. Get a 3-day hat trick.
Yep. Yeah, happy to answer any questions on this project if commissioners have them.
I don't have any questions. I think just a comment that I think I'm excited for hopefully this project coming to fruition, and I think looking at the poster for the Plan BTV open house, one of the things in my day job sitting on the advisory group for this, I think there was a lot of conversation at the last Planning Advisory Committee meeting just around the strengths that Burlington has, and so I think and really leading into those both in our future visioning, and so I'm really glad to hopefully see this connection to our natural spaces come to fruition.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. That just sounds super cool. So that's awesome.
Can I keep this?
Yeah.
Any other commissioner comments? Okay, hearing none. We
So-
will-
So move to a
So we have two motions, so we'll need,
motion to move to an executive session.
So,
Yeah.
do you want me to read the proposed?
please read the
Okay.
proposed motion.
So our proposed motion is to convene an executive session to discuss the annual review of the Public Works Director pursuant to 1 VSA 313A3. Wasn't there a second motion?
And a second motion to just adjourn the meeting immediately after following executive
Oh,
session.
yeah, and.
Can that be part of one motion, or it has to be two separate
No.
motions?
Let's make it all one.
I'll make a motion to move to executive session to complete the director's annual report, and immediately following it, move to adjournment.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Yourself? Motion
Alright.
carries, and for Commissioner Mutain and Commissioner Davis, I will send something so you can join the executive session once we reconvene.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
I'll do all shortly. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay?
And I didn't need to be part of